Man, I don't know about y'all, but it feels like it's been a minute, right? We want to take a sip and we'll get started here. Double check that because it's not, my YouTube studio is not updating saying we're actually live, which is a little odd. So allow me just to double check on that. If you're there, let me know. I have to go to my own channel. Says I am live. It's like says I'm live, but then won't let me click on my own video. But we definitely got to get some, some startup music soon, because it definitely feels weird just sometimes the way we start. But all right, with that officially said, guys, I'm gonna get started here. Welcome to, of course, the 2024 edition of State of the Ravens. Of course, the Ravens came up just short in the conference championship, up against the reigning AFC champs, basically the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get specifically to that game here in a moment, but I just want to talk generally. What up, my boy Bryant? But we want to talk generally about the ups and downs of the 2023-2024 season. There was a lot of question marks on how Todd Monken and Lamar would look in this offense. Whether Mike McDonald could continue the strong start from his first season as our defensive coordinator. And then, of course, the development of the edge and the injuries at corner at the beginning of the season. And, the Ravens honestly played above my expectations for win-loss going back to the beginning of the season. Zay played outstanding. OBJ, while he didn't deliver in the playoffs quite like I hoped, I know he was nursing an injury. It was good to see Rashad Bateman, play like basically a full season. They've already talked specifically about, him getting increased snaps next season. But with that, let's go ahead and hold on. We got to talk KC game a little bit first, though. So for those that were watching while we were live, of course, we were very unhappy with the state of the referees and the calls that were made. But that kind of stuff happens in any and every NFL game. And definitely the Ravens lost that game, not by the refs, not by anything else. The Ravens made some careless mistakes here and there. And, the thing that upsets me, and I know it upset a lot of the other members here of the Ravens flock, is the answers by Harbaugh after the game. Gus Edwards ripped off like a 15-yard run against Kansas City and basically never saw the rock again. We signed Dalvin Cook to the practice squad, elevated him to take a roster spot, and he never played a snap. The Ravens running backs had 6 rushing attempts against the 22nd ranked run defense. When John Harbaugh was originally asked about it, he replied, it was just one of those types of games, which we were absolutely livid about here, down in Florida, because it was not one of those types of games. It was only at max at any point a 10-point game. Run was really never out of it. And and we actually took down the live video just because I felt like I did not behave my best at the end of that game. And so we wanted to make that change. But, even then we were talking about okay, let's run the ball. Let's run the ball. What up, Daniel Barry? But and the Ravens just got away from it. It was so disheartening to watch. But what can we do, right? Rye the Aces and Hawkeyes guy. What up, bro? What's good? What up? But it was hard to watch that, and like I said, we weren't really keen of the answers that Harbaugh gave when, pressed about the lack of runs in that game and just what was going on game plan wise, self scouting wise. The Ravens they're a loaded box is nothing new to the Ravens. It's happened since Lamar became our quarterback, and Greg Roman's offense basically dictated heavy boxes. So heavy boxes are nothing new to us, and just, I don't know. You got to run. It's as simple as that. But let's talk about positional grades a little bit. Actually, before we go to the positional grades, I want to address the loss of the coordinators here by the Baltimore Ravens, of course. So unless you've been living under a rock and you're a Baltimore fan, the Ravens have lost, of course, 3 coaches on the defensive side of the ball. Mike Macdonald, of course, congrats to Mike Macdonald, the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, the new youngest head coach in the NFL. And we're going to touch on something real quick, again, Harbaugh related. So something I constantly bring up, guys, and I've said this on Twitter, and I'm going to say it again here on the stream. In my professional career, if my junior managers, trainees, whatever you want to call them, are not being elevated to my level or higher, especially in like other companies elsewhere, that is a sign that I am failing my team as a leader. It's as simple as that. And other than Mike Macdonald, how many of John Harbaugh's guys have gone on and been successful, let alone kept a job? It's just a little disheartening. And, people are like, oh, well, Mike Macdonald bucks that trend. Todd Monken might buck that trend. But Mike Macdonald, if you remember, left us because we passed him over for the defensive coordinator job for Don Wink Martindale, who now, of course, is out in New York as well. And we were lucky that Wink came back to us. So, of course, Anthony Weaver is headed over to Miami to take over that defense. We expect big things out of Miami's defense next year. And then, of course, Denard Wilson, the defensive backs coach, headed to Tennessee to be their new defensive coordinator. And then recently, the Ravens hired Doug Mallory to be the new defensive back coach to replace Denard Wilson. Doug Mallory, the former defensive analyst under Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. So that's something we're definitely looking at a little bit. Rye says, I smelled a rat. Something didn't feel right all game. The Kansas City media darlings purchase. It was rough, man. Like I said, the calls were bad in that game. But at the end of the day, the Ravens left a lot on the field, in my opinion, And then, of course, one of the things we were livid about yesterday on Twitter, if you don't follow me on Twitter, Darwin's Raven 20 on Twitter, the Ravens apparently were going to be bringing back Jerry Rosburg, the former special teams coordinator and, assistant to the Ravens, to basically be a game manager. Because, and this is what kills me, Harbaugh's like, no, we didn't mismanage this game. We didn't mismanage that game. No, we totally meant to not run the ball. And then literally by that hiring is just admitting that he's lying to us about that. And, Twitter was having a field day with it yesterday. They're like, what does John Harbaugh do? And I get it. There's still a lot that he is doing, but I would like a little more accountability. Just the answers. Like, even when I tell my girlfriend, like, I'm like sitting there kind of just ranting to her, she looks at me and she's like, that's not the right thing to say. And I'm like, even I know that. Like, and even a lady that knows nothing about football just knows that's not a great answer leadership wise, especially of your NFL head coach. I don't mind if you say, hey man, you know what? I got out of it. I messed up. My bad. I'd love to hear that. Great. He learned. But when you lie to me and say something like, no, we meant to do it, and everyone in the world knows that's not true. And then, of course, you go and make that higher, or try to, because it fell through, apparently. It doesn't sit right with me. But we talk about a lot on this channel. John Harbaugh is a great leader of men. And that's what a lot of people are joking on Twitter. Man, getting paid like $12 million a year to be a motivational speaker, basically. And just make sure your guys don't get arrested. But they backtracked on it. Supposedly, Jerry Rosburg, the deal fell through at the end. So, positional grades, though. Let's start at the quarterback position. So, of course, Lamar Jackson. I don't know if the MVP came out yet, but should be coming out soon. Potential MVP. Finished PFF second-rated quarterback. As you can see there, 90.4. Played really well this year. Definitely, though, if you really, really, really were with us every game and watching some of the throws, I'm telling you this. Lamar was probably 10 completions away from unanimous MVP. Because, and hear me out, he improved across the board. Average depth of target was 9 yards. That's like, I think, one of the highest among all like actual starting quarterbacks. Most of them around 8 yards or so. So he was letting it go this year, and I liked it. I would like to see, though, a slight increase in his 20-yard passes over 20-yard completion percentage. Now, when I say slight increase, guys, I'm going to be very specific here. I'm only looking for like 5 to 7% better, which literally is 1 to 2 throws. Maybe max the 10th throw that we mentioned. Apparently on those types of throws, 32.4% completion percentage, still really good. However, though, when you look at those numbers and you're looking at those all-star, these other guys that are in the playoffs, just around that 38 to 40%. Again, so that's where I'm getting that 5% derivative from. 88.2 passer rating on those 20-plus yard passes. Still a really good passer rating, but just, man, that 5 to 7% difference would literally be differences of hundreds of yards on some of these throws that were just like off by inches, man. And maybe just, getting to spend a little more time with Bateman and Zay might just solve that in general. But, we're looking even at the smallest of critiques here. Overall, rated an A. Of course, Tyler Huntley going to be headed to free agency. So a little bit of question again about the backup situation behind Lamar. Does Huntley come back? Of course, we brought in Malik Cunningham from the Patriots. I'm excited about it. I wouldn't mind using like a 6th or 7th on a quarterback this year. I don't know about y'all. Oh, welcome in, Philly Special Cards. He says, yo, Levi, I just did an Eagle draft stream. Oh, that's dope, my guy. I'm about to say, maybe whenever I do, we're going to be doing a live draft here at the end of this video as well. So maybe I'll pick the Eagles and we can do the Eagles picks through the chat. Moving on to the running back room. This one, again, I'm giving it an A. I know there's going to be some weird grades here. But all right, so let's talk about the running backs a little bit. Gus Edwards, of course. If you've known me on this channel, I've been banging Gus the Bust's drum for years since Mark Ingram was the starter. Nothing against you, Mark. I love you, bro. But I will admit, Raven fans, I'm going to say this with the heaviest heart. And for those that know how much I've been supportive of Gus, this breaks my heart. I feel like this is the first season. Maybe it's the difference in the offense running. I feel like I see a quarter to half step difference in the speed of Gus. Of course, Justice Hill actually improving on his grades. And if you look at the PFF grades, Gus actually did have a slightly downward year compared to his previous years. And of course, Justice Hill on the upside. Keaton Mitchell, of course, came on, the undrafted rookie free agent who we covered in our pre-draft special last year. Would not made it out of the draft if we were a GM. Definitely would have blown a 6th or 7th on him all day. Huge upside. Can he play a full NFL season? Of course, J.K. Dobbins up to free agency as well. I'm going to tell you right now, we would love to have J.K. back, but I'm sure J.K. wants some money. And, it's going to be definitely what he's willing to sign for, what the market's willing to give him. He might be one of those guys that, the Ravens might let him at least explore a little bit and see what the market's going to dictate. So I know for me, looking at the running back room, this draft, I believe, not predicted to have a lot of really elite or depth at the running back position. I think actually rated one of the weaker positions in the draft. Not that there aren't really good running backs in this draft, but it's there's going to be certain positions. Let me see here if I have my notes. Yeah, running back, linebacker, and safety, where it's going to be a weird balance of best player available with need, because there's just, there's clear top, A, B, C. There's like a clear A guy, a clear B guy, a clear C guy, for example. But after that, it might get a little muddled. So once runs start, we might see runs in those positions later on day 3 or 2 potentially. I know edge is going to be, there are going to be so many reaches on edge in the second round. I'm predicting that right now. Philly asks, what mock draft website do you use? Currently I'm using PFF. We actually have the mock draft simulator already up right here. What's kind of funny is I believe it was Zerline of NFL just put out his mock draft, I think, this morning, and he actually mocked almost the exact same trade that I predicted in my mock draft, which actually we'll pull that up real quick as well. So the other day we actually did our first way too early mock draft for the Ravens, where of course we predicted that the Ravens would trade out of the second round with the New England Patriots, which is exactly what the NFL analysts mocked this morning. And basically for the same reason I mocked the Patriots for that draft trade as well, is that the Patriots are probably going to trade back up into the first round to potentially go get a quarterback. And if there's going to be some really good first round guys, and quite a few of them. And it's important with quarterbacks, just like the Ravens did with Lamar, to get that 5th-year option on that rookie contract, especially at the NFL's highest paid position of quarterback. So here you can see we mocked that trade at the very beginning. So we dropped out of the first round, picked up that 34th pick from the Patriots, where we took hopefully our next stud of wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? But we'll go over that mock draft here a little later, okay? Let's keep working through these positions. So, of course, fullback, I'm not really going to go over too much. Patrick Ricard had a very different role in this offense, but he was still extremely helpful and worth the roster spot. I know there's been a little bit of whispers. Is he worth the $4 million a year? I actually agree. In the Kansas City game, there were some check down throws that looked like they were wide open to him that I kind of wish Lamar would have taken. It's why during the KC game we talked about, we felt maybe he was just not taking the easy stuff. But, Philly says, I have us taking 3 O-linemen and 2 quarterbacks. That's hilarious. Philly Specials card says, I don't know why, but I drafted Sam Hartman at 240. What up, guys? But let's go to the wide receiver room, where, there's been a little bit of hot talk. So I know Raven fans haven't been especially happy with Bateman. I understand where the criticism is coming from, but I'm very happy just to see him play a full season, get it under his belt. Zay, of course, was electric for us. OBJ, of course, is going to be a free agent, signed a deal with void years for us. There is a little bit, and we're going to cover this more later. If you are able to extend a player with void years before, what is it, like the June 1st deadline or the start of the year, maybe it's March 15th. But if you're able to extend them before the next rollover of the year, then you're able to push the dead money out. So guys like OBJ, Zeitler, and Gus Edwards, I'm staring at y'all. And we're drinking Red Bull, and we haven't drinking Red Bull in like years, and it tastes so good. Philly says, guess what, Bryant? I drafted a punter in the 5th round. That's good stuff, my guy. Yeah, backup quarterback. Fun fact for the Ravens flock, though, Rashad Bateman led all wide receivers for the Ravens with contested catches. He had 14 contested targets, 7 of those caught. Zay had 11 contested targets for 6 caught. Nelson Aguilar, despite that horrible drop to start the KC game, was pretty reliable through the season. 121.6 quarterback rating when targeted. But what I really want to see is more snaps. So when you go look at these teams that for example, I'm going to use the Bengals that have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, these guys that they truly believe are like 1, 2, and solid 3. You see those snap counts, I feel like, play a little better. And while the Ravens rotated a lot of wide receivers like Aguilar, I would like to see, of course, Bateman get more snaps, and then whoever takes OBJ's role get more snaps. Zay had 626 snaps at wide receiver. The next guy behind him was Nelson Aguilar with 419. While, like I said, I kind of really like Aguilar, that's way too many snaps. When I've got Bateman, Wallace, and I'm trying to develop guys and stuff like that. I don't know. I expected Aguilar to have more sparingly usage, and he was leaned on a little more than I would have liked. While he is, of course, sure-handed and a veteran, I don't know. Speed kills and separation creates easy throws. But we gave the wide receivers overall a B+ on the year. Tight ends, likely actually led the entire team when targeted by Lamar, 141.2. Mark Andrews had 135.1 rating when targeted. About a 20 target difference. Mark Andrews having about 60 targets before the injury, which of course then increased Likely's targets to about 40. You got to go like A to B+ for the tight ends, essentially. Andrews and Likely next year could be outstanding. Likely still needs to continue to work on his run blocking, though, would be the one thing I have for him. Philly Special Card says, a backup QB, I'd say Bryant. Mariota won't be back next year. I'd say Marcus Mariota to the Ravens next year. Maybe. Like I said, Huntley is going to be a free agent. They did bring in Malik Cunningham from the Patriots, but Mariota might be out of our market. But honestly, might not be a bad pick. I'd have to go watch some more film on him. But I don't think he's our guy. The offensive line. Now, this is something I'm excited to talk about. All right. So, of course, the starting offensive line from left to right. Ronnie Stanley, Josh Simpson, Tyler Linderbaum, Kevin Zeitler, Morgan Moses. I know some Raven fans did not like Morgan Moses at the beginning of the season, but of course he ended up the #1 run blocker on our team. Stanley's left tackle is getting paid so much money next season. But the hard evaluation is this. Stanley was, of course, still dealing with the injuries at the beginning of the season. Towards the end of this season was playing some of his best football. So if he can continue at that level, it's kind of worth it. But we'll get to that when we do the eventual offseason plan of the Ravens, which I think we're planning for March 6th, 1 week before the tampering or free agent window starts, basically. Um, we've got a deal where we're going to try to rework some of his stuff, but we'll get to that here in a moment. Bryant Culp says, I heard the Eagles want Wentz back. That would be a little crazy. Do you think that's true, Philly Special? Do you think the Eagles want Wentz back? The big question mark here, free agent, Josh Simpson. Yeah, I'm sorry. The left guard. And I made sure to pull this up. Hold on. So we have blocking grades across the entire NFL here. We have it sorted by penalties. John Simpson comes in number 3 on this list, 13 penalties on the left guard. Here's the thing. He played pretty well most of the season. Is he the long-term solution? No. Was he a great stopgap? Absolutely. Zeitler, of course, entering void years on his contract on the right guard position as well. Going to be a big question mark for the Ravens. I honestly would like to keep Zeitler around for one more season, which we covered on our our little preview we did the other day, and we're going to go over it later as well as the preview for the offseason plan. But the Ravens have some interesting options on the inside. So Ben Cleveland, of course, played pretty well for us. Wasn't originally going to be that guy, but if you look at his pass blocking grade at 80.7, only 171 snaps though, he looks like similarly graded to Kevin Zeitler over here, just slightly grading out 4 points lower than him. So there's Ben Cleveland, that could possibly be the right guard of the future. The Ravens carried Mala Alu, the tackle guard they took out of Oregon, on basically their roster all season. I think he might be potentially in that left guard mix. And then, of course, the Ravens traded back into the 7th round for Andrew Voorhees, who we watched go down at the NFL Combine. Was probably predicted to be the second guard, I think, taken prior to that injury. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming that the Ravens need interior offensive line. While I don't mind picking up one later in the draft, I don't think it's as high as need as you're going to hear people talking about. I think Lalu, Cleveland, and Voorhees are going to compete for that left guard job. And like I said, I would like to bring Zeitler back on a 1-year deal, hopefully before the void money kicks in. And then basically maybe start looking for some tackles to start training behind Stanley. But we'll see about it, right? Philly says, please no Carson Wentz. He says, I want Spencer Rattler or Joe Milton. Yeah, Rattler actually, I think was talked about a lot. Was he at was it East West or the Senior Bowl? But all right, moving on to, oh, by the way, O-line got a B- on the grades. Defensive line coming in with a B+. Of course, Michael Pierce led the overall grades for us. Best run defender as well. Everyone and their mom knows about Justin Madubuike, which if you haven't seen on my Twitter, we've actually worked out a potential extension for him as well. And here's actually that where we talked about where the other day we did a little bit of cap work where we took Quinnen Williams' contract of the Jets, the second highest overall, and we basically copy and pasted that into a Justin Madubuike extension, and then did a little bit of work doing things like, hold Hold on, sorry. See if I can get this to fit better. Fit the screen. So, of course, like we talked about, we extended Kevin Zeitler for 1 year. We actually did a renegotiation of Ronnie Stanley, similar to what we did with Michael Pierce. For those that don't know, on January 6th, like right after the season ended, supposedly the Ravens did a 2-year extension with Michael Pierce, messing around with those void years where they're going to pay him more money and accelerate when he can go to free agency, but I think lower his overall cap number next year. So basically kind of working something similar like that with Ronnie Stanley to bring down that cap number. If everything went like I planned in this picture that I have up on the screen, Ravens flock, I signed Justin Madubuike to like a 4 or 5 year extension. I rework Ronnie Stanley to hit free agency either next year or the year after. I restructure a tiny bit of Marlon Humphrey's contract, as well as a decent amount of Mark Andrews. I cut Tyus Bowser, and then I signed Kevin Zeitler to a 1-year extension worth about $7.5 million. And I actually create $22 million in cap room, which coming into that situation, I had, I believe, 13 million. If not, I've 7. So, yeah, we did some work the other day, and we'll go over that here later. But Justin Madubuike, 849 snaps. Pierce came in with 698. Jones with 518. That's Travis Jones, University of Connecticut. And then Broderick Washington, we got to talk about 452 snaps. The Baltimore Ravens signed Broderick Washington to like a 4-year extension. He's going to be making between $4 and $6 million over the next year, 1 to 3 years. I don't know. Was this fuel for Madubuike too? Like you paid the wrong guy. Here's the thing, Ravens flock. I know there's probably gonna be some Raven fans that want to get rid of him. You got to give him 1 more year, and that's actually just based on his contract too. Even if the Ravens got rid of Broderick and admitted the fault and tried to take all that money into Madubuike's contract, essentially to keep Madubuike, I believe there's no cap savings from a cut this year. So it's better just to keep him on the roster, try to let him play, and then, maybe we can cut back in for some of Madubuike's money, basically, is what I'm kind of thinking. But defensive line is going to be also a very interesting draft position. Defensive line in this draft is supposedly got high quality but limited depth. And of course, interior pass rushers are in high demand in the NFL. So it's gonna be a wild ride, guys. The COVID years and adding that extra year to a lot of these people, we've actually seen a decrease in people coming out early for the draft, and it's making for these deeper, what the scouts call COVID drafts, basically. Philly says, I really like T'Vondre Sweet. Oh, I know, right? Honestly, my first mock draft, I kind of kicked myself in the ass. Somehow he was there late, which I don't think he'll be where, pick 30. But we'll see how it goes here in just a little bit. So also the thing is, with our draft, if when we showed here the mock draft, you see that second pick of Michael Hall Jr. at pick 62, a little bit of a reach. PFF did not like that pick. They rated it as an F pick. That was on the assumption that Madubuike leaves. There are actually some really good 3 technique defensive linemen in this draft, which if Madubuike does leave, or, we're just looking to add some depth later, we might be able to find a really good guy. Of course, Beak played 297 snaps. I'm sorry, 476 snaps at the B gap and 297 over tackle or the 5 technique, essentially. So 3 and 5 is what Baltimore's looking for if Beak leaves. Of course, the edge is going to be my weird grade. The edge is simultaneously an A while simultaneously a C. Let me explain. So it was supposed to be David Ojabo and Odafe Owe dominating this season with guys like Clowney, and maybe again we were probably originally always going to bring someone in like Kyle Van Noy to be the rotational guys. Instead, Kyle and Clowney ended up basically being starters. David Ajabo's knee didn't respond. Tyus Bowser, which probably, if you're not a Ravens fan, you probably don't even remember that name, was supposed to come back with a knee injury. Supposedly his knee didn't respond. Usually contributed about 4 to 6 sacks a season. Really good in coverage for the Ravens as well, especially in zone. And that was a real kick in the shin, halfway through the season when we realized we weren't going to get him back and we were going to struggle even more on the edge. Of course, Kyle Van Noy and Jadeveon Clowney, both free agents as well. Jadeveon has been constantly playing for that 1 year, $8 to $10 million contract. Had to take less, played with the Ravens. And of course, OTC evaluation of his plays approximately $9 million. So basically played up back to that $10 million. I also wonder, will he potentially follow Mike McDonald to Seattle and sign up there if they've got a little more cap money than the Ravens? We'll have to find out, right? But of course, after that, Owe didn't get the sacks, 5 sacks this year, but if you look at his numbers, 54 pressures, 40 hurries, 9 hits, very similar to Kyle Van Noy's number. He just didn't get the sacks, which has constantly been Owe's story. But he is getting good pressure, which is always a good thing. We really hope next year, him and Ojabo really take that step. Edge is going to be something we're definitely eyeing hard. Tavius Robinson, the what was it, 5th round pick for the Ravens? No, 4th round, because Caillou Kelly was the 5th round pick. Ended up playing, I believe, what was it, like 300 something odd snaps. You got to give him time. Yeah, 338 snaps compared to Owe's 491, Kyle Van Noy's 562, and Clowney's 747. We got to step up on the edge. But Clowney and Kyle Van Noy have played way above their level. It possibly part Madubuike and Pierce, partly Mike McDonald. We'll have to see next year, right? Philly says, I think he's a 2nd or 3rd round guy, to be honest. Oh yeah, I think I'm thinking of the other guy. I don't know if I can do the mock draft later, but I'll talk to you about doing a draft so soon. Heard, my guy. I'm going to try to run through this down a little bit here quickly. Linebackers, not really a lot to talk about. RQ and PQ, outstanding. The big story, of course, is if, of course, we sign Madubuike. I don't know if, of course, if we'll have money truly for PQ at that point. PQ played 1,246 snaps, so that's a lot of snaps to replace. Of course, the Ravens took Trenton Simpson in the 3rd round, out of Clemson, the linebacker out of Clemson. We really liked what we saw later in the season from him, but it's big shoes to fill. The Ravens definitely might add another piece. Malik Harrison, technically an inside linebacker that played a lot of snaps outside. So he played 226 snaps, also 188 of those on the outside. He's a free agent as well. Again, we're got a lot of free agents across the board here. I want to say it's like around 23 free agents. Cornerback battled through injuries at the beginning of the season. Marlon Humphrey had some injuries. Ronald Darby was one of the highest graded corners, but of course we saw some miscommunication errors like in the Texan game. It's like a B+ to an A because again, they played way better. Again, big shout out to my boy Brandon Stevens, 1,206 snaps at corner. The next corner behind him was Marlon and Darby with 554 and 553 snaps. Brandon Stevens playing more than double the amount of snaps of any other corner on the team. we definitely got to start thinking about who to pair with him in the future whenever Humphrey eventually moves on. It's we drafted Marlon when Jimmy was playing good. We drafted Jimmy when Ladarius was playing good. We drafted like when Chris McAllister, Samari. We've always had this taking a corner even when we don't really need one, and I feel like that's going to be a case this year. I would not be surprised to see that first pick on a corner as well, but there's going to be possibly some really good wide receivers you can't pass on. That's why I would really like to get 2 second-round picks and trade back out of the first round, just so I can go wide receiver, corner, boom, boom, and at that point, Bateman, Flowers, and a guy like Leggett or a big. Basically, I want to put a big, like 6'3" plus guy on one side. I want Bateman on the other outside. And then I want to allow Andrews, Flowers, and Likely to work the slots, essentially, and just run around people. But, we'll see. We'll see. Arthur Mollett, also a free agent, played well in the box, but seemed like he might have got beat on some deep crossers across the middle. Rock Ya-Sin's going to be a free agent, only played 281 snaps, like half of Mollet's. I thought that was a bad signing, to be honest with you. And then, of course, safety, Marcus Williams, Geno Stone, Kyle Hamilton. Geno Stone, of course, going to be a free agent. Hamilton, potentially Defensive Player of the Year candidate, just played out of his mind, 90.4 coverage grade. We're going to talk a little bit about what Geno might get paid, but there's a lot of snaps there if Geno leaves. Hamilton playing 1,065 snaps, Geno playing 1,000, and Marcus Williams dealing with injuries playing 765. So a lot of play out of those safeties for the Ravens. And again, rundown of the free agents. We got Madubuike, Patrick Queen, Kyle Van Noy, Davion Clowney, Ronald Darby, Arthur Mollett, Brent Urban, Malik Harrison, Tyler Huntley, John Simpson, OBJ, Kevin Zeitler, Rock Ya-Sin, Gus Edwards, Nelson Aguilar, Geno Stone, J.K. Dobbins, and Devin Duvernay. Like, a lot of free agents coming up for the Baltimore Ravens. And honestly, looking at the potential free agents that are going to be out this year, there's really not a lot of guys I would sign, to be honest with you. I know it's not the fun thing to do, it's not the flashy thing to do, but if I'm the Baltimore Ravens GM, there's almost no first, probably even second wave guys unless my guys leave, and I'm investing all of my moves into re-signing some of my guys like Geno Stone, like re-signing Madubuike. It'd be great if we could keep Patrick Queen. But some of these guys I don't mind letting go. It's going to be right place, right price, right player, like it always is for the Baltimore Ravens. Looking at some of the expected contracts, though, Justin Madubuike, he might wait for Chris Jones, who's supposed to be the number one free agent. Chris Jones expected a 4-year, $30 million average, while, of course, Madubuike, a 4-year, $23 million average. We actually found our numbers originally were 4-year, $97 million, averaging 24.25 a year with 62.5 million. So we're predicting actually a little more money to Madubuike than what PFF's predicting to him. But Patrick Queen expected to get around 4 years, $73 million, average of $18.25 million a year, $38 million guaranteed. Clowney, 1 year, $10 million, same thing potentially with OBJ. And then, of course, over the cap provides OTC evaluations, which basically talks about putting a price on the player's play. Kevin Zeitler, by the way, coming in at $8.05 million. Geno Stone expected to get around $11.8 million. Gus came in at $3.78. Kyle Van Noy, $6.25 million. And then guys like Simpson, Millette, Darby, 2 to 7 million. The Ravens definitely lost some money on some of these gambles as well. Looking at our notables, contract basically to pay. The Ravens were paying Rock Ya-Sin $4 million this year. He was only worth 1.35. Good signing for Aguilar. Great signing for Clowney. They were only paying him 2.5 essentially. He was worth about 15 million. Kevin Zeitler a little bit over the price, but about good. Ravens had great value on guys like Gus Edwards, Patrick Queen, Geno Stone, of course, Mata BK. Just getting a lot of good value out of these players. Even the Simpson contract was a good deal, even though the play wasn't outstanding. And then, of course, some of the contracts we're going to be looking at, of course, Ronnie Stanley's, Tyus Bowser's, maybe Marlon and Marks, Moses potentially as well. And then extensions we're already starting to eyeball a little bit are Brandon Stevens and Tyler Linderbaum. Double checking some things here. So, of course, a lot of the draft for the Ravens is going to depend on which free agents they can keep. So, my camera blocks it a little bit here on the right side, but you should be able to kind of see a little bit of the free agent list here. But let's play around with it. So, again, the Ravens currently, as you can see right here, $7.328 million. That's going to be kind of rough to keep. But as we talked about, let's see here. There's also the potential of a franchise tag, but let's say I extend Mata BK. They said 4-year deal. I want to add 2 years of void money on it, potentially. Guaranteed money of $62.5 million. Oops, I forgot to put my mil. Which it won't allow me to move some of this money to the void years. So please excuse that. There's nothing I can kind of do about it. Average per year. Let me see here. And the contract we did. I'm going to pull up contract table, interior defensive lineman, and Quinnen Williams contract. So like I said, what we did here is we took Quinnen Williams contract and we kind of copied it over a little bit here. Of course, 24 APY, fully guaranteed, which we already counted for more guaranteed money, but we're more looking at these base salaries. So 25, 20, 15, 4. And again, that's why we also got the 2-year void here. So 25, 20, 15, 4. And I don't think that brings us to enough guarantees the way it works. 15 and 6. It's going to definitely give me some weird numbers. We're definitely giving more prorated instead of roster bonuses. But just to give a rough, quick one, not going to go in depth here. Of course, that move puts us $6 million over the cap, signing it just like that, which of course it'll be moved around. So then, why do I want to look at Ronnie Stanley's contract? Because Ronnie is due $26 million this year and $26 million next year. So what I'm thinking about doing is moving some of this money and renegotiating the contract. Let's see if I can get it done like I did before. Extend or renegotiate. That's not the right way to do it. Hold on. There we go. And then we reduce the salary. Not enough. Let's see if we do 2 years, cancel that year. It's not going to do it properly. We'll free up money there, though. We restructure. We're only going to restructure, though, half of this, not anymore. So only 5 mil restructure there. We're going to ask a restructure mark. We're going to do the full 5 million it'll let us. We then cut Tyus Bowser. And we're going to sign and there we have it, just like that. Even with the quick deals done, we were able to deal a little bit with Ronnie Stanley, release him to free agency early, split the dead money or the other money over 2 years, the roster bonuses, sign Matabike to possibly a 4-year extension, paying him more than PFF thinks he's going to get. So very small rework to Marlon and Mark Andrews. Of course, Tyus, I wish you the best in life, homie. And like I said, at that. And like I said, we could address Broderick's 4.5, but there's no point this season. The Ravens already addressed Michael Pierce. And, you know, like I said, we would love... Let's see, though. Bryant Culp says, what is Justin Tucker's contract? So Justin Tucker's actually signed for a long time. He's signed through the 2027 season, getting paid about $5 to $6 million. You know, it's the number one kicker contract, that's for sure, but I think it's still a pretty good deal for how consistent he is. You know, you might be able to restructure that contract a little bit, but it results only in about $2 million in savings. So that's definitely one I would only save that for the, like, you know, a later season move potentially if we had to. Of course, looking at the free agents that are left after making little moves like this, PQ, of course, like I said, I don't know if we'll have the money for. This also doesn't account for Kyle Van Noy or Jadeveon Clowney. So the Ravens, of course, will have to figure out the edge situation by promoting Tavius Robinson, making sure they get Ojabo back healthy, and then maybe finding some depth in the draft. Of course, this also doesn't account for John Simpson, which John Simpson, like we said, you know, he has his penalties and played adequately, but the Ravens were paying him, I believe, only 1.1 million. His OTC valuation around 7.7. I'd value it somewhere around 5 million, to be honest with you. You know, valuable backup with starter, you know, potential. So I'm not really bringing Simpson back because I've got Voorhees, Laulu, and Cleveland. And I'm already, like I said, I'm bringing back Zeitler for one more season as well. I could maybe bring back Arthur Mollett on a small deal. Like they show here, Arthur Mollett playing the veteran minimum kind of 1 million. Evaluated 2.4. I'd say that's probably about accurate. You know, You could bring him back for almost nothing. Devin Duvernay is going to probably find a good home. We could maybe bring back Brent Urban and Malik Harrison. It's why we talked about with Huntley and JK, why the Ravens might maybe head to the draft instead. JK could sign a good contract somewhere that might get the Ravens comp pick. But of course, we would love to have JK back and give him a chance to play healthy. But just looking at the money, it might become an issue. And by the way, guys, you're going to see like guys here on the left. Where is it? Like OBJ right here. It shows he's on the roster. He's not on the roster. That is the dead money, essentially. So if you look here, we'll go to OBJ's contract. 2024 voided. And like these other years. So he's voided. You're going to see that with Kevin Zeitler, Gus Edwards. So it shows they're on the team, and it doesn't show them as a free agent here. But if we were to go to the free agents, 2024 Baltimore, you'll see, of course, that they are free agents due to voided contracts. But so, looking at the rest of this 2024 free agent class, honestly, not, Ronald Darby maybe, but we're hoping that guys like Demarion Pepe Williams and Jalen Armour Davis can get healthy and take those snaps. With that, the Ravens are in a pretty good spot after, if they can make the Matabike, Zeitler, and some cap moves, they're in a great position heading into the draft. If Beak goes, try for PQ. If PQ goes, you got to try to keep one of the two. And of course, we're going to favor Beak. Looking a little bit ahead at our 2025 draft class, while we're not looking to spend too much money. Of course, it says $10 million here. You will need approximately $4 to $7 million, depending on your picks, to sign your draft class. So even though it says $10 million, there's not a lot of money left after that. Morgan Moses, Brandon Stevens, Patrick McCary, Patrick Ricard, Odafe Owe, Bateman, Hill. There's going to be some key 2025 free agents. But what we're really looking at, guys, is actually the 2026 free agent class. Mark Andrews, Tyler Linderbaum, Kyle Hamilton, potentially Ronnie Stanley, Isaiah Likely, Travis Jones, Jordan Stout, our punter, Keaton Mitchell, if he's on the roster, David Ajabo. And I think, Linderbaum, Hamilton, Andrews, Likely, I think most Raven fans would say those names come above a lot of these guys on the 25. The only guy I'm super looking hard at 2025 is Brandon Stevens. I'm looking to sign Brandon Stevens to an extension, as well as, maybe go get him some help in this draft as well to pair him for the next 3 years. But yeah, guys, we're going to go a little heavier into the actual cap and contracts and free agency when we do the first episode of the offseason plan coming up here next week, I believe. Or I'm sorry, it's going to be next month, March 6th, I think, actually. We're going to do it 1 week before free agency starts. We're waiting to see who gets, franchise tagged and stuff like that. Let me find I had my dates here. Well, I thought I had my important dates here. My apologies. Yeah, there it is. So the franchise tag window opens February 21st through March the 7th. So, of course, there has been talks that the Ravens could franchise tag Justin Matabike. I believe it would cost about $20 million a season. So actually, let's play around and let's see if we had to do that. So if we give them the franchise, so they say 23. So, definitely would cost us a lot more money. And let's see if we do the transition. Definitely still got to make some moves, but we can maybe make it happen. The Ravens could also potentially push over the cap, but I really don't want to be in that position. Of course, March 13th through 15th is the tampering window start for NFL free agency. So starting the 13th, teams can start talking and kind of agreeing to the contracts. Of course, the 15th, though, the actual first official day of free agency where stuff can be signed. Um, of course, we're going to be doing the Baltimore Ravens as the first episode of the off-season plan. And for those that are new to the channel, the off-season plan is a segment we started last off-season that we're going to continue this season, where we play the GM of various NFL teams, where we, of course, do contract works like this, but as well as, talk a little bit about draft, free agency, who we would sign, and how to really get our team to the Super Bowl or, definitely improve where it's headed. Of course, I know we're doing the Ravens. I know we're doing the Carolina Panthers. Probably going to do the Packers, Bills, maybe even the Eagles. But, let me know, guys, in the comments, if you want me to do your team. By the way, the Ravens are predicted to get one comp pick this year, 4th round for Ben Powers. And something we're keeping an eye on, NFL talked about it a little today. If Khalil Mack gets cut as a cap casualty from the Chargers, the Ravens, please make it happen. I know if there is some by God miracle that we can work this beak extension with good money and then somehow sign Khalil Mack to that, OBJ, that void contract, a little bit of money, it didn't pay off for the Buffalo Bills this year. Von Miller was a no-show, but Khalil Mack had 17 sacks, I think, this year as a veteran. Basically replaced Jadeveon Clowney with Khalil Mack, and I'd be ecstatic, But let's go have some fun, guys. Let's go have a mock draft. Time Traveler says, it'd be me, the Chiefs fans, sober tonight so far. You guys had a number 1 AFC defense, so how do you improve Lamar's situation? He is an MVP caliber, so how do you feel with the cap space to improve roster overall, not just scored 7 non-guard? I know, right? What's funny, so actually while I've got you here, let's pull up, before we start the mock draft, let's start with what was my mock draft. So this was our way too early mock draft, again, that we did last week, where, again, we're going to go get Lamar's help. Now, this, of course, was predicting that Beak leaves. So that 2nd round pick of Michael Hall Jr., I would like you to imagine that being traded out for a cornerback in that slot if Beak stays. So what's funny is we actually had this prediction before, I believe, was it Zerline did his mock draft today, where he predicted that the Ravens trade out of the 2nd round to the New England Patriots so that they can trade up and get a quarterback. We predicted that a week ago. And we have our mock draft from PFF to prove it. So with that, in this mock draft, I traded the 30th overall pick to the Patriots for pick 34. I then essentially did a pick swap. Here, I'm sorry, let me pull my picture up so I can see it better. So I did a pick swap, essentially. Even though it's 4th and 5th, I gave the Patriots pick 130 for pick 139. So I gave them a 9 pick value as well. So, they gained 4 spots in round 2. And basically jumped from round 5 into the bottom of round 4. But they also gave me pick 103, a 4th round pick. And again, this is the pick that Zerline did in his mock draft earlier today, so it makes me know I'm right on the money. With that, I take Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of South Carolina, the big 6'4" guy. My vision for next year is to have Legette as the X, Rashad Bateman as my Z, allowing Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, and Mark Andrews to work as my Y slots. I think it would take Lamar to that next step, and I just hope that Xavier can be my DK Metcalf. You know what I'm saying? Bryant says, "Can we draft a tight end? Can we long snapper?" Time Traveler says, "Thanks for reading that. You have to understand, before the playoffs, I saw Casey get rocked by blitzes against the Raiders. Never mind, we were dropping balls, and come playoff, now we catch. It's because you didn't let Kadarius Toney get in that game and give that Butterfinger energy." Trevor for Canada says, "You guys always killed in the draft, low. Really respect the way you guys have built your team. Hope you can get a ring soon, a Jets fan." I appreciate that, my guy. I'm hoping for you next season. That broke my heart, the Aaron Rodgers thing in the beginning of the season for y'all. But, I'm going to be honest, guys. As I started evaluating our actual cap situation, playing around with it, seeing that there is a chance we could keep Madubuike, actually, and then exploring the draft, I actually started getting excited, Ravens flock, because hear me out. I know you might think I'm being a little optimistic, but I'm telling you, there's a small chance this Ravens team's next year could be even better. And I know that's hard to believe. And if Beak leaves, it might be even harder to believe. But so, of course, our next pick at 62, we originally took Michael Hall Jr., a guy that really plays that 3 to 5 technique like Beak did. And again, PFF thought it was a huge reach by me. I kind of understand it. Again, it was for Beak leaving. Of course, we also predicted in our original mock draft here that potentially Gus Edwards might not be back with the Ravens. I'm comfortable with that. I actually thought it was a great idea to bring in Braylon Allen, the huge power back out of Wisconsin. Basically having Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell as those two speed guys. Of course, Justice Hill is a veteran, takes over that veteran presence in the locker room. Keaton, of course, that young guy with potential. Now I want to bring in the power guy, Braylon Allen. Of course, Mohamed Kamara, the Colorado State edge rusher, really showing up. What was it, the East-West Shrine game? He's gaining a lot of momentum here, and this mock draft was before that happened. We're looking to hopefully put him out there on the edge and develop him. I then took, of course, pick 111 since I had I had some other picks. We traded, we gave, our third. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we trade the third round pick for pick 111. A little bit of trading because, again, we want to get some extra. But then after that, we go linebacker, corner, wide receiver. The Malik Washington pick was my Devin Duvernay replacement. Michael Barrett is to add depth behind Trenton Simpson. Chris Abrams, Dre, a little bit of versatility. Dylan McMahon, basically the potential backup center and maybe move to guard. And then Kaiton Oladapo, maybe to replace a little bit of the Geno Stone snaps. Might look into free agency a little bit with that as well. But, they didn't really like my mock draft that much. So, let's see here. Going back to the chat here. John LeJay join us. What up, my guy? Time Timer says, but I'm worried when we play the 49ers, they will just nonstop blitz us. That's how we lost with injuries to Bucks in Super Bowl. You know what, Time Travel, though? Your tackles going into that Super Bowl with the Bucks were injured. If I'm not mistaken, your left tackle and your right tackle were out. And we knew on our channel Mahomes was going to be running for his life in that game, and he was. Time Traveler says, if I was betting solely for money, I'd put money on the Niners to blitz Mahomes, shut down the Magic. We'll see, my guy. We'll see, right? I've always had a lot of respect for Mahomes, but honestly, Travis Kelce gets on my nerves. I'm more pro Kittle now than ever. Have mercy, KC. All right, guys, but Philly, are you still in here, my guy? We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have one more mock draft. So of course we got to select the Ravens. I know we've got a KC. Man, I want to do KC slightly. We'll just do my Ravens. We'll just do the Ravens. But let's have a little fun. Let's have a mock draft, shall we? We'll do all 7 rounds. We're gonna go turbo speed, care for positional value. We're gonna up that, I think, a little bit. Draft needs, keep it. I'll keep a little randomness, but I don't really want a lot. Let us enter the draft. All right, with that, the Bears on the clock. Don't care. We're fast forwarding. So with pick number 30, the Ravens are on the clock. Michael Penix Jr. is still on the board, of course, which is again why we predict that the Patriots are going to come calling here. Let me double check that they didn't make a move here in the first round, because if they made, so yeah, of course they take Marvin Harris in the first round. They're definitely coming to get Michael Penix if they have not already. Because if they don't, somebody will with 31, 32. So we're going to go with a trade here to the New England Patriots for pick 34. Like we said, we will give them pick 30. Now, hold on. We got to find 1 second here. Draft trade calculator. They now... So they now supposedly use, a different trade chart. So the rich trade value. Here we are. Oh my God, I keep closing it because I'm an idiot. Okay. So here we have it. You're not going to be able to see these numbers, but this is the draft trade value chart. It used to be different. It's now been updated. As discussed by Bill Belichick, they use an alternative model developed by Rich Hill of Pat's Pulpit, which we believe more accurately reflects the trades of the past several years. So with that said, Baltimore's pick of pick 30 valued at 196. The Pats pick valued at 175. That's, of course, a 21-point value difference. 21 points evaluates to about halfway through the 4th round. So this is why, again, we predicted a little bit of a pick swap as well. So, of course, if Baltimore was to try to trade, to make up that 21 points, they might want a little more. So, again, we're going to kind of do this trade again where we're going to pick or swap some picks maybe. Let me see here. So I want that 4th round pick, which is pick 103, I'm sorry, from them. But that might be worth a little too much. So we're going to pick swap one of the other picks. So the Ravens, of course, we'll do 139, 134 instead. Offer the trade. The Patriots accept. And, of course, I already know they're going to take Michael Penix. And they do. Because it's a no-brainer. Even PFF's engine knows. You know what I'm saying? Like... I don't know if you were here, Time Traveler, by the way. When we were doing our mock, we actually were able to mock signing Justin Madubuike to an extension. Let me pull it up here, actually. So we have it here on the screen. When we did this yesterday, it's on our Twitter as well. We took Quinnen Williams' contract, essentially, plugged it into Justin Madubuike's numbers, and we're able to sign an extension. So by signing Justin Madubuike to the 2nd highest defensive tackle contract in the NFL, we then renegotiated Ronnie Stanley's deal, kind of like what we did with Michael Pierce, where we added some extra money in I think void years, allow him to hit free agency earlier by taking an actual contract year off. So with that, we renegotiate Ronnie Stanley. Instead of a $23 million cap hit, we renegotiate him down to about a $16 million cap hit and allow him to hit free agency next year. We then restructure Marlon Humphrey and Mark Andrews contracts, with Marlon always restructures for us. We cut Tyus Bowser, and then with that money, not only are we able to sign Madubuike to a $24 million a year contract, we then also re-signed Kevin Zeitler to 1 year, about $7.5 million deal. This leaves the Ravens with about $22 million in cap space at that point, heading into free agency. Even with these moves, if the Ravens were to apply like a franchise tag, they could still franchise tag Madubuike, make these moves, and have a little bit of money. They would still need some money potentially for their draft class, but I think they'll be able to figure it out from there. But yeah, I don't think you were here for when we did all that, so I wanted to make sure you knew. Like, I'm going to go under this assumption that the Ravens get it done. That Beak's coming home, so that's not a need for my Ravens. So here, pick 34. There are two really good fucking tackles on the board. Oh my God. Oh, that hurts. KC mock draft, you got to remember KC gains a lot of cap space after Chris Jones is gone. Shit, like 65 million. I know, right? Like, y'all are going to have some good money to work with this offseason. It's going to be fun for KC, honestly. Like I said, maybe I'll do a Kansas City offseason plan. Time Traveler says with George Karlaftis, he can do a big part filling the Jones slot and saving some of the cap. Oh my gosh, it literally like deleted all the messages because I'm guessing too many. Hold on, I'm pulling them all up now. Not a red bearded guy looking like Rakita Law. I don't know why you didn't cuss. Like, why did it? Gosh. But yeah, let's take a look here at this draft. So Keon Coleman's on the board. I kind of like Keon. Like I said, man, those tackles, that's hard to pass on. But like, especially if we do renegotiate Ronnie, go into free agency early. Oh man. But we have Patrick McCary. But man, you're not going to find good tackle depth like that for a while. And see, Xavier Legette behind some of these other guys. Like, I could go, of course, Jermaine Burton. But I don't know, man. I kind of really want Legette. So it's one of those ones I could probably move down in the draft. Keon Coleman, of course, could really fill that role as well. 6'4", 215. Maybe he's the guy instead of Xavier. I don't know. So lower contested catch rating, 70.7 versus man, 3.8% drop rate. Xavier Legette got a good contested catch rate, great versus man, great drop rate. Like, I'm interested to see some of the measurables on these guys. And I would take the USC guy over the Florida State guy. I wonder if I could trade back again. See, and I feel like if I trade back again, I'm doing too much. But I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I trade back too much. I think you need to be confident who you like. And I'm not going to take a chance. So I'm still going to take my guy, I think, here. I know there's some higher rated guys. I mean, Adonai Mitchell could be that guy too, technically. Size. And that's what I like. There's a lot of these size guys in this draft. But I wish it would tell me if there was someone that was... I mean, of course, there's tons of teams interested. Who needs a tackle? Saints. Who really needs that tackle? The Jets might. Packers now. This is tough. And I'm banned from their chat now. He was drunk. He's been to AA lately. I paid $2. Have a good night. Good luck to the Ravens next season. Thanks, my guy. Oh, see, it's one of those ones I would trade back if I could. There's some good edge players too. Like, I've heard a lot about Jonah Ellis, Darian Robinson. Like, there are some good players on this board right now. You could just go best player available, which would definitely be tackle or edge. What do y'all think, chat? Keon Coleman or Xavier Legette or Adonai Mitchell? $56.5 against Bama. Didn't play Bama. Highest competition, probably LSU. Had a great game. Had a good game against Stanford. Good game against Clemson. Showed up in big games. But I'm like, man, I liked his strength of schedule better. Georgia, UNC, Tennessee, Missouri, Florida, A&M, Clemson. It's tough, guys. Like, there's a lot of good outside guys, and I want them. Great. The question is, who is the pick? It's not Devontae Walker. You want to talk about no drops, contested catch rate, like, God, blessed with too many good players. Let's switch it up. Instead of going Xavier, we'll take Keon. Just so. I bet you PFF will grade my picks higher now. And then I'm guessing that starts a tackle run right after. Yep, tackle, edge. There's corner, edge. There goes, yeah, the two good edge rushers off the board. And see, Jonah Ellis could be that pick too. But I'm going to give Lamar even more weapons and, just make sure. And let's see if I hadn't. Yeah. Where did my guy come off the board? Oh, there goes Tavondre Sweat. Yep, went pick 50 to the Eagles. That's a good pick, honestly. What's up, Steve-O? Let's see here. Now, again, this is on the assumption that we get to keep Madubuike. Like I said, at this point, I think I'd rather go the corner route. I know I looked at this guy hard, but he plays more slot than anything. I mean, with Marlon Humphrey, we do need a slot guy. But also, Marlon could slide into the slot. Congrats on turning 44, my guy. And see, there's Chris Abrams, who ended up taking my other draft. Again, got some good guys. Trending back up after trending down. I think they want to let Marlon play in the slot. Just gonna have fun here. I'm picking at what, 62 here? I don't really want him now. I'd much rather wait around pick 80. So what do we have for BPA? Some linebackers we don't need. We do need a safety potentially with Gino going. I don't know, man. There are so many good players here I'm looking at. I think the edges are rough, are reaches though. Like, could go back to edge. That is good size. Of course, we never have this much time in the draft. I really don't even want one of this pick. I'd rather trade it. Pick up extra thirds, but then I feel like I'm doing too many trades at that point again. Maybe I'm crazy. Gotta take the player. I'm really leaning towards the tackle potentially. I've been hearing about this young man. A little small at 6'2", though. God, it might be too high for that pick. It's one of those ones you gotta be confident, I guess, in your picks here. I should have taken my... I think I'm about to have faith in this pick, is honestly. I know he's a little smaller, but I think he's my guy. Definitely just going BPA. I kind of do like Blake Corum too, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not like I'm opposed to it. But I really don't like to double up from schools. I do like the Michael Hall pick, and it is closer to that value. But I could probably get him at the start of the fourth. I think this is where I take a shot on an edge rusher. A little bigger. Do like Cooper, though. God, I like the Cooper pick. That's where I'm going. And then I'm going to go get Michael Hall here in the fourth. Just plays so much B. Doesn't really play as much over tackle as I'd like him to. But I like him. And it's probably a much better pick spot for him. Here we are in our fourth round pick, and this is where we took Malik Washington, and I think I'm going to take him again. Honestly, I love the pick. I got Muhammad Kamara as well. I could double up on the edge. I'm going to double up on the edge. Now I'm going to go get my boy Braylon Allen, the 6'2", 245 thumper. Take over for Gus Edwards. Pick 167. Got Joe Milton there. Could be a good backup quarterback if we don't bring Huntley back. But let me see here. I like some safety, corner, linebacker. Mostly what I'm looking at here in round 5. This is where it gets tough. Would Tommy be a good pick? He might be. Definitely had a down year. Played less games, less snaps. That's tough. I didn't take another wide receiver, so actually I kind of really want another wide receiver. The question is, who's my guy? Honestly, it would definitely be more of special teams as well. I don't know my special teams wide receivers yet. I've seen he's been popular. Gotta love there's like nothing. He's been dropping fast. Interested about the UNC guy, to be honest with you. Whew, 6'5". Big boy. 6'4". And a lot of big wide receivers. I'm looking for that special teams guy. Trending up. I like it. Let's go with it. Just a gut feeling pick. No research in that one, to be honest with you. Pick 251. Yeah, I don't have a 6. This is what, the last pick? Yeah, this is the last pick of the draft for the Ravens at this point. It's got his actual face. Not a lot left, is there? I'll say it down there. Meh. That's the pick. How did I do, PFF? Let me know. Let's see how PFF grades the draft. They definitely liked my picks a little more. Oh, but all right, guys. It's been fun. Again, look forward to, we're going to have the off-season plan coming up here soon where we'll be in depth more on all of these teams. How did you like the mock draft? What would you have done different? They love the Keon Coleman pick, at pick 34 there. They still didn't like my third, but it'd be like that. And they still don't like the Michael Hall pick. But what do they know, right? What do they know? But all right, guys, I'm out. Appreciate everyone for joining us. Your boy's tired. I'm starving. I'm about to go eat some minestrone soup. With that, look forward to